Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about something that I was not planning on talking about today. And so I actually had a different video, a different topic planned for today's recording, but I woke up and I just felt like that I needed to talk about something else. And I felt intuitively that I was supposed to be making a video on what I'm going to be discussing today. And so in this video, I'm going to be talking about the power of the subconscious mind. I'm going to be talking about prayer a little bit and manifestation and the law of assumption and things of that nature, because this is something that has transformed my life more than anything. And this started, I started to learn more about this when I understood that the divine was within me and that the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God is within me. And so through meditation, I started learning how to experience oneness with God. And I learned that oneness with God or union with God is something inherent to our being. It's not something that we have to earn or achieve. You know, religion tries to make it seem like God is this distant deity up there in the sky somewhere, and the whole point is to somehow get to God or get God to come down from the heavens to get to you on earth. And in between, there's a lot of rules and all the stuff that comes with religion. You know, you have to believe in this, you have to confess this, and there's so many different conditions. But when I started learning about my inherent oneness with God and that I've always been one with God and that I can experience God directly by going within, then everything started to change in my life. And so once I learned that, once I started to experience divine union through meditation and through contemplative prayer, then I started learning about the power of manifestation and the power of the law of assumption and what prayer really was. And so when I used to pray, I used to have this mindset that I was praying to some kind of deity, you know, God up in the heavens, and I had to beg and I had to really ask this God to do whatever it is I wanted him to do. And sometimes he would do it, sometimes he wouldn't do it. But then when I learned that I was one with God and that the power was within me, and that there's even a scripture, I think it's Ephesians 3:20, that says God is able to do exceedingly above and beyond anything we can think, ask, or imagine according to the power within us. And so it's all within. And so once you realize that it's within you, then you realize that, okay, I'm one with God. And so I have this creator energy force within me, and I can create my reality. I can transform the world around me. And that's exactly what prayer, I think the true meaning of prayer, is all about. And so when I stopped praying the old way of begging and asking and wanting this deity, this God somewhere up there to work on my behalf, and I started going within, and I started to learn about energy. And you know, there's a quote by Nikola Tesla. He says, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And so that's really what I started doing. I started to learn, I started to understand the power and the energy that I am, and that is within me and all around me. And what I understood about energy, what I learned about energy, was that energy was vibrating at different frequencies. And so depending on my state of being, depending on the energy that I was embodying, that had a direct influence on what I was experiencing in my outer world. And so then I learned that my outer world, what I'm believing to be my outer world, my external reality, is just a reflection of my inner world, of my inner state of being. There's that saying, you know, you don't get what you want, you get who you are being. Or you don't attract, in life, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are being. And so it's all about being, it's all about energy. And again, this is kind of going into the mirror principle. But what we think is the external world that's out there somewhere is just a reflection of our inner world. It's a mirror reflection going on. And so the idea that, you know, I'm trying to change my external circumstances, I'm trying to change my external reality, and I'm going to do something about it externally. I'm going to pray to some God, I'm going to pray to some kind of saint or angel to change my situation. If that's your mindset, you're going to be missing the power that's already within you. You're going to be missing what's really going on in the world of energy. And I know, although we can't see it and we can't perceive it through our five senses, everything is energy. And like I said, or like Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, you have to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And so it all starts within. The kingdom of heaven is within you, but Jesus says in the Gospel of Thomas, it's also outside of you. So it's non-dual. And so as I started going within, and as I started to understand what it meant to actually embody the state of being that I wanted to experience in my outer world, then all of a sudden my outer world started to reflect the state of being that I was being. And so let's talk about real quick, I want to talk about energy and vibration and frequency. And so, like I said, everything's energy and everything is vibrating at different frequencies, right? And so what I started to notice in my life, and this was even like before when I was in fundamentalist religion, like years ago, so probably like 6 or 7 years ago, I started to see this even when I was in that old, my old ways and the old paradigm of fundamentalism for me in my journey. What I started to pick up on was when I was in this low vibrational frequency, and I wouldn't have called it that at that point because I didn't know what that was. I would have called it like when I was in a low mood or a bad mood, or when I just wasn't feeling myself. What I noticed was it was like when I was embodying that state of being in a low mood, then it was like I was attracting these negative experiences and these negative situations. And it was almost like, if I was feeling bad, if I was not feeling like myself, it was like just everything around me would be gloomy and it just wouldn't be right. I knew something was off energetically, although I didn't know all the names and terms for, the quantum stuff like I know today. But that's what I was picking up on. And then on the flip side, whenever I was having a great day and I was feeling good, I was feeling high energy, I was feeling high vibe, it just seemed like the more I stayed in that state of being, then everything else around me started to reflect that. And it wasn't like this automatic thing. It wasn't like this immediate reflection. Sometimes it would take time, but the more I would stay in that flow, the more I would stay in that state of being, the more it was reflecting in my external reality, in my outer world. And so I would keep doing that. And I remember, about 5 or 6 years ago, when I really started to pick up on this and I started to practice it, I was amazed at what was happening in my life. And I knew it was a result of my state of being. And so again, in life, you don't get what you want, you get what you are being. And that's one of the things that I think people miss with whether it's prayer or law of attraction. It's the mindset of, when you have the mindset of I want something or I'm begging for something to happen, that is the state of being of lack. And so if you're coming from that state of being, if that's the state of being that you're embodying, then guess what guess what your external world is going to keep reflecting. It's going to keep reflecting you not having. It's going to keep reflecting you in this state of lack, not experiencing the fulfillment of your prayers. And so that was something that I started to, it was very intuitive, but I started to see that. And I wasn't talking about it because I was still uncertain. I was still skeptical about it. And so I wanted to spend some time really experiencing it. And that's exactly what happened. And so, like I said, about 5 or 6 years ago is when I really started to make that shift. And I started to embody the life that I wanted to experience. And I wasn't praying for it. I wasn't begging for it. I was believing that it was already done. And that is one of the teachings of Neville Goddard, the law of assumption, and assuming that whatever it is that you're wanting to experience has already happened. Because when you start understanding time, and that time is actually just this illusion, and it's something that the mind is creating, and you understand eternity not as this time that goes on forever and ever and ever, but this realm that's timeless, it's outside of time. When you start understanding that, then the past, the present, and the future are all simultaneously happening in this one eternal now moment. And so when you go into your subconscious mind and you start to get into these deep meditative states and you start to visualize and you start to assume, you start to experience the feeling of whatever it is you're praying for or whatever it is you're wanting as something that is already done. And then here's the key, then you start to embody gratitude. What do you think you're telling the universe? What do you think you're showing God or whatever you want to call it? You are embodying this state of being of I have it. It's already done. And that's actually, exactly what Jesus says. I think it's Mark 11, where he says, when you pray for something, believe you have received it and it will be yours. And so this is something I used to read when I was a Christian growing up all the time, and I didn't understand what it actually meant. I probably just ignored it and disregarded it most of the time. But when I started to experience it in my own life, again, this didn't come from someone teaching it to me. I wasn't looking up like law of attraction videos on YouTube, and I didn't even understand what Jesus was saying, and not even Jesus, but so many other mystics and sages from the different spiritual traditions have talked about this reality of manifestation and how prayer actually works, and living from the end, and magnetism and attraction. We find this in many different traditions through the mystical branches. So it wasn't just something that Jesus taught. Jesus probably learned it from some other sage or mystic. But for me, like I was saying, it was something that I just, over time, over the years, I started to pick up on it. It was very intuitive, and I just knew that there was something to this. And again, I was very skeptical at first because I would hear people talk about it, on YouTube and on different podcasts and on TV. And I was like, yeah, I don't know about this. It just doesn't really seem, legit. But once I started experiencing it for myself, then I changed my mind. And the more I changed my mind about it, the more I started experiencing it even more. And, what I learned was that with prayer, with manifestation, law of attraction, law of assumption, all that stuff, there's so many misconceptions about it, and there's so much misinformation out there. And so there was definitely a lot of rethinking I had to do, and I had to correct a lot of the beliefs that I had about it growing up because of what I was told and because of what I was perceiving. And once I changed my mind about all those things, and I had some clarity on what it actually was and how it works, then again, I started to experience it firsthand, and it was incredible. And it happened, really within a year. There was 1 year, about 6 years ago in my life, 1 year that I started to really practice this and embody it. And it absolutely transformed my life. I mean, so much happened in that 1 year, and I'm still experiencing the effects of that. And so, there's so many different misconceptions and misunderstandings about it. But one thing I'll say is this, and this is kind of probably the last thing I'll say in this video. And by the way, if you want me to keep making more videos on this area, this subject of prayer and manifestation and law of assumption and magnetism and attraction, let me know in the comment section below. I will start making some more of these videos. And yeah, I enjoyed talking about this. But the last thing I'll say is this. One of the biggest misunderstandings, I think, with this whole world, this whole realm of law of assumption and manifestation is that all you have to do is think about it, believe it, hope for it, and then just do nothing. And then it's going to just magically appear, and it's going to be, instant. And it's not how it works. There's actually some very key principles in this whole realm in understanding how prayer works, how manifestation works, how the law of attraction and law of assumption really work. And I think some of those key principles are, yes, thought is important. It does start with what you are thinking about. So that's key principle. We could say number one is the thought. And so, with thought, then it turns into something you're visualizing. And so visualizing is probably the second key principle. But then it doesn't end there. And that's where so many people stop. They think about it, then they visualize it, And then maybe they'll even add in some affirmations, while they're visualizing it, and they think that's it. But even you can be thinking about something, you can be visualizing it, you can be saying all your affirmations, but if you're not embodying it, if you're not embodying and living from the state of being that you were wanting to experience, then it's never going to come to pass. It's never going to manifest. And so this is the most important key principle, and that is action. When you combine the thought, the visualization, the and the action, when you combine those elements together, then that is when the mirror principle really starts to kick in. And then consistency is another key principle. We add consistency with you thinking it, you're visualizing it, you're acting, you're making steps in the route of whatever it is that you're visualizing. And then consistency, it's not just something that you do for a day and you're like, okay, I'm going to try it for a day. And then the next day you're like, oh, I don't see it. I'm not experiencing it. I haven't manifested it. So I'm just going to quit. I'm talking about consistency. I'm talking about doing it over and over and over again until it starts to happen. And it will happen, like I said, over time. It's not going to happen overnight always. Sometimes it does, but in most cases it takes time. It's something that is, it's like you're sowing a seed. You sow a seed into the ground, and every day you're watering that seed with consistency and affirmation, and you're embodying that state of being. You're assuming it's already done. Those are all very important elements that are watering the ground. They're watering the soil, and then eventually that seed is going to start to grow and flourish as a plant, and you are going to experience the harvest of that. But I think the most important key principle, and I know I'm throwing a lot of different key principles out there, but I think the most important one that has to be from the very beginning until the manifestation happens is feeling. And there's actually, Neville Goddard has amazing teachings on the importance of feeling whenever you're praying for something or whenever you're wanting something to manifest in your life. Feeling as though it's already happened. And so you can't just think it's already happened. And that's why I wanted to clarify with assuming it's already done. You can't just assume that in your head. You can't just assume that by belief or by thought. It has to be by feeling. You have to feel. You have to embody the feeling. And so, with this, you can close your eyes and you can just imagine, you can just picture, what would it feel like to experience whatever it is you're praying for, to experience whatever it is you're wanting to manifest. And that is really probably the most important key principle out of all of them, having that consistency in feeling it from the very beginning until it's manifested. And there's many different things that you can do to help with this, and I think the best one is meditation. And I do plan on making some more videos soon on meditation and how it works with manifestation. But when you can get into deep meditative states, it becomes very easy to embody, to visualize, and then most importantly, feel whatever it is you're wanting to experience. And it truly is amazing. It truly is powerful. And this is something, again, that I felt led to make a video on, and I'll probably make some more videos on this if this is something that you enjoy, if this is something you want to learn more about. Again, please let me know in the comment section below. I do want to make a video that's pretty much more directed towards prayer. And so I know I talked about prayer a little bit in this video, but there's, I think, a lot of misunderstanding about prayer and how prayer works, and I get questions about that often. So I'll probably make a video really soon on prayer, and maybe I'll share a little bit about my story, about how I shifted in my whole perception of prayer and how I pray now and what I'm experiencing now by praying the way I pray. So if you found this video helpful, informative, or insightful, please leave a thumbs up at the bottom of the screen and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.